Dr. Darshan Shah here for the Next Health Forefront podcast. I'm here with Kevin Peake, president of Next Health, and we're extremely excited to have a big fan of Next Health that we met actually at the locations, right? You met us through coming in, which
rolling
was
into cryo. That's where we met.
Right, exactly. Amazing. David Nurse is here, and David has an incredible career with the NBA. He is a optimization and mindset coach, which, I mean, those two things are just so intimately related. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. You've been working with the NBA for many years. You've coached over 100 athletes across 51 countries that you've spoken as well about mindset. I mean, you've had this amazing career, and now you've put in all of that information, all that knowledge into a book, right?
Yes.
That you've written, which is called
Pivot and Go.
Pivot and Go.
Pivot and Go. Coming out,
So
mid-November.
All of you listeners of the Next Health Forefront podcast actually get a little preview into what's going to be in this book today. So We're really excited to talk to you, and thank you so much for visiting.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things is he has his podcast, one of my favorite topics, the 1%er.
There you go. All right.
Always got to make those 1% improvements.
For sure. For sure. We'll have you guys on that. But yes, really appreciate you guys letting me be here and dive into this thing, man. Let's optimize some NBA players.
I love it. So that's what Next Health is all about, right? It's optimizing, but it's at a different level when you work with NBA players, right? Because they've pretty much got the basics down. I mean, they have a nutritionist, they have an exercise coach, and tell me how you take an NBA player that's been living this incredibly athletic, healthy lifestyle for years. You know, that's how they got there. How do you get them even 1% better?
Man, so that is the biggest challenge. So with having these NBA players who are extremely talented and gifted and getting there on what a lot of it's just their natural ability alone, it's how do you tell somebody who's ripped and shredded and 4% body fat and 40-inch vertical, how that they can get better? So a lot of it's, I mean, just like with anyone, it's very, very customized. Right. So I'll look at my players. I have my own type of pillars. Number one being mindset, and we'll look at sleep, nutrition, recovery. And then the fifth one is joy. So you can never fix anybody or help anybody that doesn't want to be helped. And I want to make sure that these guys, obviously they love what they do, but making sure that it's something that being able to optimize themselves is something that they're excited about. So really we break it down on those 5 pillars, but first being mindset and absolutely just diving into like where their confidence is at, where their preparation is at. I mean, it's all a case by case basis.
Right.
But the biggest struggle, is really convincing them like that it's not just about the right here and the right now, how they're doing, but it's about the longevity. It's about 4 years down the road. It's about 10 years down the road. It's even about after their career. Like a lot of them will see it right now, but where are they going to be at? I mean, how are they going to maximize their contracts? How are they going to maximize just their overall life, which is definitely the biggest challenge. And it's why I start bringing guys to Next Health, because that's obviously what you guys do.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, like when you get into the NBA, I mean, like you said, it's about the here and now. Like that's such a high in their life. And then you hear these stories that a lot of times they end up retiring, but they don't go out gracefully, right? Sometimes either they lose all their money or they just fall out of the public view. And I think what you're saying is absolutely true. Like if you start from the very beginning with this mindset of what does the future hold, it's so powerful. And I think, in Next Health too, we see that a lot. Like we have people that are in their 20s and 30s coming in, and these are people that are self-selecting that mindset to they're thinking about longevity. But we also have to talk to them a lot about that too.
Absolutely, because most of our customers that come in, they're already healthy, right? Yeah. They're not coming in because there's a problem.
Right.
And it's such a change in mindset for people to preventively and proactively want to, invest in their health when they already feel good.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that next level?
Yeah. And how do you see that next level? Like, how do you envision it actually that's going to be?
Right.
And that's where you see the difference between NBA players who will burn out fast and just on the ability that they have, and the NBA players that have long term. Like Kyle Korver is a player that I grew up with and trained with a long time. And he's 38, still playing in the NBA at a high level. It's only him and LeBron are the only ones still left from that draft class.
Wow.
Him and LeBron. LeBron invests $1.5 million into his body every single year. He's kind of like the standard for the NBA. So when people realize he's doing it, everybody wants his secrets. But Kyle's been doing it. Like when I work out with Kyle, like it was a couple years ago, I remember the biggest issue that we had was finding the farm to table restaurant that he wanted to eat at after the workout. Like he's that invested in it.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of yoga, just all mobility, recovery is absolutely huge for him, obviously. But I know it sounds easy for us to say it, but for those guys, they're going off the basis of their natural ability a lot compared to
Right.
realizing where they're going to be at when they're 38 years old.
And you coach Kyle, like he's one of your, and so tell me, like, what kind of routine did you give someone like him? Like, what's his day consist of? What have you put together for him as far, like you mentioned the farm to table restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Like what else do you put in play?
So he's pretty good with it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, his routine is like in the off season, he goes to this place P3 in Santa Barbara.
Uh-huh.
They do a lot of functional mobility. They do a lot of recovery, just super based on his own body recovery, but he's absolutely whole foods based. Like he's an easy one, to be honest with you. Like, and a lot of the stuff that I'll do too is skill set involved in their skill set, obviously with what's going to make them their money. He knows what he is. He knows who he is. He's extremely confident. His mindset, like he's the epitome of being an easy one and understanding it. But some other players, like the younger players coming up, so I do a lot of pre-draft, like guys going into the NBA too, and having to teach them how to be a professional, how to have the mindset of an NBA player, and how to basically have like a vet mindset, like a Steve Nash or a Kyle Korver. Like Steve Nash is the poster child for optimization. So like in the off season, it would be, let's take for example a couple of, let's say, younger vets. A lot of the times we'll do our morning workouts. We'll do on-court morning workouts. We'll do some type of functional movement weights, not anything like powerlifting, but everything that has applicability to what they're going to do, their movements in game situations. We'll have recovery. A lot of the times the nutrition is based on them just doing what I do. So whatever I preach, I'm going to do. So we go to Air One a lot. And then most of them will want to go have, like, one of my players who plays for the Raptors, out of his rookie year, he was probably like 8% body fat, just a freak of nature, just eating burgers and fries. And now 3 years later, like he's eating whole plant food, great meat, just Air One type food. And like he looks the same, but his energy level and his capacity to have output on the court is so much higher. Something that's very challenging to actually be able to see, but something that obviously he can feel. So yeah, I mean, the off season compared to the season is really different. The off season, I get to be hands on with them a lot and really teach them what I want to teach them. And each player is very different, as I'll have to just cater to their needs. Like some players will understand nutrition, some players have no idea on sleep, so I have to teach them on how to sleep. And we use the Oura Ring for our players so we can track it. A lot of it's just for me to be able to see like how hard we can work out the next day. Obviously, I track their deep sleep, their REM, their HRV. I'm really huge on teaching them how to sleep. Obviously, sleeping in the dark, very big. Big nap, very big on naps, but also teaching them the effective way to nap. A lot of players that I've worked with would take just like huge long naps, 2-3 hour naps. They'd wake up groggy, wonder why they're groggy.
Exactly.
So we're in the power of the 90-minute sleep cycles and 30-minute or less naps. But yeah, a lot of it's based on like the specifics the player needs. For even example, for nutrition. So not everything can be the same for each person. It's not, you say you put the right amount of fuel in the car, but what kind of car are you, right? Yeah. One of my players and one of my best friends, Jeremy Lin. So in the past, he tried to get on a keto diet, but he's Asian, so just in his blood, they need the rice, they need those carbohydrates. So for him, it didn't work well. And that's when I realized, like, hey, it's not the same thing works for everybody.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of it's just very, very specific, meeting a guy where they're at, and a lot of just teaching slow 1% steps on how they can implement it in their life.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're a life coach to an extent for these guys. And it seems like you're curating their overall coaching program as opposed to just focus on one component of it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, very accurate. I mean, it all stems from their on court and the skill set they need on the court to perform and make the money and doing what they do at the highest level. But yeah, a lot of it is, I mean, you could term it life coach or even mentor or even just buddy to be there just to listen to them when they're down. Because it's like anybody. We all go through very difficult struggles. I mean, they're making millions of dollars, but it's still, that's their struggle. Like you'll have a great game, then you have a bad game. And how do you how do you go with the ebbs and flows? And that's where mindset comes in to literally everything. Mindset has got to be the first basis before you can jump into sleep, before you can jump into any of that. And just understanding that, like with my players, we divorce ourselves from any feelings of what failure might be termed. Like we don't look at stats, we don't look at makes or misses. We look on, did they get the right shots? Did they get the right, like, did they have their energy high? Did they prepare the right way? Was their confidence high? Like, we don't look at anything that might be failure. Because if you do, then it's just constant up and down, ebbs and flows. And from what I found is like it's been successful. And I've given them, I've created like a confidence statistic sheet where they'll self-analysis rate themselves. So a lot of it is being able to like subconsciously know that there's no such thing as failure. Like if they fail, if they go 0 for 5, and I just had a guy that I'll get on a call with later on today that went 0 for 5, but he knows he's probably going to go 10 for his next 20. Like the odds are going to even out. And it's that type of mindset confidence that he has to be able to optimize on court performance.
Wow. So confidence is part of mindset.
Absolutely.
What are some of the other buckets of mindset that you talk about?
Preparation, always preparing for the opportunity. Visualization is very big. So I'll teach my players that we'll see the game before it happens. And Kobe was really big on this. He's the one that kind of was a trendsetter in this. He'd sit down before the game and just watch out every single play that was going to happen in the game before him. So like in anything that we do, if we've already done it time and time again, it's going to be much, much more simpler. And so we'll have the players sit down, watch the game so they know where they're going to get their shots and they already see it going through. So visualization is very huge. And I also have them get into I call it the confidence swag zone for them. They like that. Got to stay young and hip, with the terms of swag. But they'll see their best game that they've ever had. So they'll walk through their best game that they've ever had. Maybe it's college, maybe it's high school, wherever they feel the most comfortable and confident, and they'll get back into that zone. So when they step on the floor, they've already played this game through they're going to play and play the game that was their best game that they've ever had. So visualization is very huge. Preparing for the opportunity meaning that no matter if it's like they don't play for a while, like they're out for a while, or they're not getting the opportunities that they want, they know that everything that they do is a preparation for that opportunity to come. And when that opportunity comes, they're not thinking, woe is me, I'm not ready to get called into the game, but I'm so ready to take over. I've seen so many players, they'll feel bad for themselves that they're not getting the minutes that they should, and then they step on the floor and they suck, and then they're done. It's over. Like for Jeremy, he hadn't played. He was... Man, no one thought he'd play in the NBA. He's called up from the D League. There was 12 things that had to happen for him on the day when he played for the Knicks. Yeah. 12 different things, like Carmelo Anthony being sick or Murray being injured. Just crazy thing.
It's like winning the lottery.
Right. For him to even step on the floor. But he prepared every single day that was going to be the day, and then took over with the Linsanity, and it was history from there.
Yeah.
So those are the main 3 components with mindset. And I mean, it's also some guys are mentally tougher than others, so you just gotta meet them where they're at too.
The visualization experiment, I mean, the one I remember a lot is the basketball one, where players that visualize making 3-pointers have like a 50% increased chance of getting them in real life.
Absolutely.
Just by doing some visualization right before going for them. Yeah, and they've like measured this over and over again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's totally applies.
Yeah, it's amazing.
How long do your visualization exercises last? Like before games, are they literally sitting there staring at a blank wall for hours, or what does that look like?
Some guys do it differently. It's usually about 20 minutes total. Okay. So I'll have their film, like highlights of their film clips from maybe college or their best game that they had. So they'll go over that and see it, and then just however long they take on getting through, but usually about 15, 20 minutes.
Got
overall.
it. It's like that mental repetition of those key components of the game that they're trying to perfect, really.
And then to your point, like everything that we do is preparing for the opportunity, is practicing like it's the game.
Right.
So we'll do some drills that maybe there's only 2 shots the whole workout, but they have to come off the bench. Say a player has to, his job is to come off the bench and be able to be ready to go right there. So we'll sit there for 20 minutes, just be talking. I'll just say, hey, let's go, sprint to the corner, have to make a corner 3, sit down for another 20 minutes. So it's being able to prepare at a game preparation, like game speed, like mentality. The easiest thing to do is just do repetitions. But if there's no actual pressure in the field, I mean, that's the athlete's not ready for when it actually comes.
Exactly.
Right. I used to train Krav Maga, and with our trainer, he would always, we would actually fight when we fought, because and you'd say, listen, when you get into a fight, they're not going to half fight with you, and if you're training at half speed and then you get into a real situation and someone else is going full speed, you have the muscle memory to go half speed. The goal is, you want to train harder than the fight's going to be, than the game's going to be.
That's such a good point in developing the muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Like the muscle memory, as you guys know, is developed by the myelin wrapping around, and you can develop that muscle memory if you just go half. That it's going to be you're developing the wrong type of muscle memory.
Right.
The hardest thing to do is unwrap the myelin of the muscle memory and recreate muscle memory.
Right.
Like I'd rather take someone who's never shot a basketball than taking someone who is just shooting it from their hip or something like that.
Right.
Muscle memory base is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned something a little earlier too, recovery and using HRV as well in recovery and the Aura ring. And so I'm fascinated by HRV and recovery because I feel like it's added such a new dimension to everyone's training routines, just health overall. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know you're an expert in this stuff.
So HRV is like my biggest, most exciting thing that's coming too as well. Like I always track my own, but it's something also that to me is somewhat of a mystery to how to get it at its highest level all the time. It's the tell-all for me every time I wake up when I have high HRV. Like I feel energized. I don't have what I call the hot eyes feel, or what we call it. And so I'll track it with my guys, especially in the off season, primarily because that's when I have the touch on them. I mean, during the season, you got to go to practice. You got to go to practice. You rather you have bad HRV or good HRV. So some tricks that I do. And I know everybody knows sleeping in the cold, but I also like to have my guys journal before they go to bed. Just get every single thought out of their mind. You put it on a piece of paper, it's out of your mind, it'll be there tomorrow. Everybody's got something going on in their mind that they can't sleep, and that's the hardest thing for sleep, is just having that just fast-paced mind. So I'll have them journal, sleep in the cold, and really it's just finding what their rhythm is, like finding what their nightly routine is. I'm really big on nightly routines with my players. A lot of people, I mean, I know the morning routine is super sexy and everybody wants to have that cool morning routine, but the nightly routine is what prepares you for that. If you don't have if you're watching TV, watching TV for a couple hours before you go to bed is almost similar to having a hangover, drinking alcohol before you go to bed. You'll have that TV hangover. Like people don't know that. It's making these guys aware of it. But HRV, like I wish and I try literally everything to figure out what gets the highest HRV I can and try to replicate it. I've got it. I mean, I sleep really, really well and get good HRV scores, but there's still nights that I do everything and it's a low score. So if you guys have the secret to it, let me know. It'd be amazing.
It's like you said, I mean, it's so individualized person to person, like what works for them. And also it changes day to day. Like your biology changes day to day. So you never know like how to exactly hone that in. But I think you can put into place, like you said, routines and habits that achieve the max more consistently. It's just having routines and habits that makes that you are consistent with,
I do think that's the next stage, though. I think people figuring out how to optimize HRV on a consistent basis is what's going to come next. I think in the NBA, people understanding mitochondria as a main energy source is going to come next. I think there's a lot of things on the forefront of the NBA that you guys are obviously doing that. I mean, that's why I get so juiced up every time I come into Next Health, because I know I see this, I see that. I know the players can use it and can benefit from it.
Right. And that's the goal. I mean, that's the goal, is taking the latest advancements out there and these massive breakthroughs and make them as accessible as possible to people. Could we real quick, though, just break down HRV? I want to make sure everyone fully understands, like medically and scientifically, what HRV is.
Yeah. David, do you want to talk a little bit about it and I can add to it?
Heart rate variability. Basically, your resting heart rate, how you... I mean, I call it the overall performance of your sleep. I mean, you go in deep in the science of it.
Right. Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about the science. So it's basically the variability between each one of your heartbeats. Okay. So it's interesting. The more variable it is, so each heartbeat has a few milliseconds more or less between heartbeats than the next heartbeat. The more variable it is, the better it is. and is thought to be a culmination of everything that you do, not just sleep, but just to relax, to recuperate, to recharge your body. Okay. And it gets even more big. It's bigger than that, actually, because it's also the quality of the connections of the people around you, the quality of your friendships.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Your mindset has a lot to do with your HRV. And it's even bigger than that because the people that really know HRV and study HRV, if I'm at a different location than my wife, for example, say I'm in New York and my wife is in California and I'm having a really bad day, my HRV is really low, statistically significant decrease in my wife's variability, even if I haven't talked to her, all the way across. The people that you're connected with somehow can sense your HRV through distance. So it's really incredible stuff.
And
like
amazing.
It gets a little woo-woo when you think about it, but they have the data to show it. Like the Heart
amazing.
Math Institute, and you probably heard of them.
Yeah.
They're the world's experts in collecting data around HRV. And they're actually tying a lot of science around quantum mechanics to HRV and how, your observation of an atom in one part of the universe can actually change an atom in another part of the universe. That's HRV works along that same quantum scale. So that's getting really deep into crazy science about it. But obviously, there's a ton of data that's useful right now, which is actually tracking HRV. I think the Aura Ring is great. Heart Math has like a little ear clip that you can wear on your phone. You can see what your HRV is. And you can do exercises to hone in your HRV using the Heart Math app, actually. So you could actually learn through biofeedback, so you can see on the app if your HRV is going up and down, depending on what you're thinking and what activity you're doing at that point in time. So I tell a lot of people, if you really want to get into HRV, you should, number one, read and learn about it, but number two, get the app, get the monitor, and start doing the biofeedback exercises.
Man, that's amazing. I got to get that.
Yeah, you got to get that.
Thank you very much.
I think your players would love that,
They would
actually.
love that, yeah.
Especially when you already have them like in the habit of tracking HRV and their goal is to get as good as they can.
Like we make it a competition, so
yeah,
it'd be a lot of fun.
So this can give them an additional edge in the old HRV world. Yeah.
That I never knew that about being tied to your significant other, even across
incredible.
Your kids, your significant other, your friends, family. It's really incredible stuff how you can modify your HRV based on what's happening on another side of the world. It's pretty, pretty
and
interesting.
why is it that a higher HRV will increase performance?
You could talk a little bit more
Like
about that.
how does that
what
really
you see
connect
in reality with your players, right? It's just
I mean, based on just what I've seen through the players and their HRV scores, is the higher the HRV, the more rested, the more recovered, the more recharged they are. It's like everything you touched on is they just have more output energy. I don't know exactly what the tie of the energy is, but
it's almost like an overall health marker, energy marker. That's this is the marker of your body and your performance and how you're living right now.
Right.
So the stronger we can make that, you're going to perform better across the board.
That's how I rate everything, basically, on how hard we can train the next day is based on their HRV score. Deep sleep and REM, obviously very, very important, but I know that we can get that through naps. We can make up for that, but the HRV score is what I really. So to say it's the overall health score, I think that's a fair statement.
People that make the Whoop band, that's a new band that's out. They call it the readiness score. It's almost like how ready are you for this day coming up? How ready are you to really perform this day? And if your readiness score is low, you want to listen to that biofeedback and not do the 4-hour workout. Maybe you'll do something that's more restful, like yoga or something instead. So this is stuff this is, of course, very beneficial to your athletes, but I think also to just the general population to learn about this and start using this. Like I really feel, and you work with athletes a lot, but I really feel like athletes are always on the tip of the spear, but what they learn can definitely affect the general population if we just sit and listen and see what they're doing.
And that's what I try to do. I try to take what I teach NBA players, what I learn from NBA players.
That's what your book's all about.
Yeah, that's what the book's all about. And being able to share it with everybody. Being able to share the mindset with everybody, the struggles that they go through, how that, you can look at things from a different perspective. It doesn't always have to be cut and dry on, like what I talked about earlier. Diving back into the mindset on what failure is or even what success is. Or just making sure that what you're doing, you don't have to be in the NBA. It doesn't necessarily have to be your dream job because we're not all living our dream job. Like my dream job's in the NBA. But I'm having a great time every single day because you just pivot your mindset and you look at things from a different perspective. So yeah, absolutely.
A question I want to ask you too
Yeah.
is like, I watch these guys play, and like, if someone misses the game-winning shot, right? I mean, to me, I would be so depressed. I'd never want to see anyone for like a year after that.
for
Like
sure,
the whole world just saw me totally screw
right.
up.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get people to, like you said earlier, like how do you get people to? That's not a failure. It's going to be okay. Like, what is the pivot that
It's great. That's a great question. So I'll actually track with my players how many game-winning shots they attempt. Like I look at that, and we make that something that's like. In the off season, we'll look at how many game winners did you attempt during the season. So it's something
that's
awesome.
such a great way to flip that over.
Shifting it.
See, like that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like even in business, you can use that. Like if you're never going to be successful if you don't attempt at least a few things and fail.
How courageous are you?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but
that's exactly
I think both of us are like, whoa.
Instantly, like I got that. I mean, that makes so much sense.
Right. But it's just pivoting the mindset to something slightly different. So we never track how many shots you make. It's how many shots can you take? How many can you get off? Obviously, not just throwing up bad shots, but how many shots can you take from your high-level areas?
Right.
And to be able to have the courage to take a game-winning shot that's the strength and the mindset as it is. So like I applaud any guy that will take that game-winning shot. That's why I'm always going to be a Jordan guy over LeBron. LeBron's probably overall more talented if you want to get in this rabbit hole of this debate for NBA fans. But Jordan's ruthless. He's fearless. He'll take the game-winning shot, and he'll even put up a poster of like how many times he failed, and that's what made him better.
Right. I love there's one of those posters somewhere that I saw one day of Jordan. It's like, I've lost, you don't even know who it is at first. I've lost this many games. I've missed this many, hundreds of game-winning shots. I failed this many times. I blah, 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 blah. I'm Michael Jordan. Yeah. And you're like, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Like you're the best.
Right. You find
and you failed this many times.
Right. And you're never going to succeed if you never take those opportunities to take those chances.
Yeah.
Like literally, like you prepare for the opportunity, but think about this. If you only get one opportunity, you might miss it. But if you keep getting opportunities, keep taking shots and shots and shots and shots, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you another question? So, one of the things I see a lot, because we see a lot of athletes, and we see athletes, during the prime of their career, right when they're getting started. And then I see also people that are done with their career and now they're doing other things, right? But by that point in time, a lot of them have really just overworked, destroyed their bodies. You know what I mean? Like, and these are people that probably did not have the benefit of someone like yourself kind of coaching them and guiding them. So how do you prepare the young athlete or the athlete at the prime of their career to, after they're done with the game, to still have a body that does not joint aches everywhere, like all the problems that they have.
Man, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said developing the habits and the routines.
Right.
So it's all based on that. Like it's the learning process through the career. It's keep going back to like the 1% steps, teaching a guy, not just telling guys stuff, but teaching them. So a lot of the stuff that like, I'll make sure I'm able to do everything that they're able to do. I mean, of course, not dunking it or being athletic like that, but being able to show them how, like teach them how to eat right, how to recover, like the importance of mobility, the importance of just the simple things like rolling out, but setting up the routines for them so that they know at the end of their career, like they're going to be able to keep doing that. And like one of the main pillars that I talked about was joy, like finding joy in doing what they're doing, joy in the process, joy in the grind. Even though they're at a different level making millions of dollars, it's still a grind. Like it's tough on your body. It's tough on your mind. It's tough on your families. Yeah. And being able to have joy in being healthier and understanding that's when you see the players that'll understand it later in their career. Because a lot of guys will. I mean, their bodies will be broken down because they didn't take care of it at all. They'll just literally, I've seen so many guys after they're done just absolutely blow up because they're not constantly active.
Yeah.
So it's for sure a challenge, and I wish there was some type of program that was set up for players to have a better concept of that or better understanding for after their career. But maybe that's something we can do together. Who knows?
No, I think it's a great idea, actually. I think a post-career program, because like you said, I mean, a lot of them gain 30 pounds sometimes, because they're still eating like they were eating when they were working out 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they haven't really understood that they need to change their diets and change their routines to match their new life,
Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah.
they no longer have this whole team supporting them. They don't have this
That's a good
infrastructure of,
point. Yeah.
you know, guys like you and their coaches, everyone looking out for them and fighting for them. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, you know, they're gone. They're now into
Yeah, you're on your own,
civilization
man.
life,
Right.
and things go upside down.
Yeah. Dude, how does someone like how do these NBA players like get hooked up with you? And then how many of them do you coach? And I assume not every NBA player has a coach like
Yeah.
yourself. So I assume they're hiring you. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's based, I mean, through teams or coaches
Right.
that I know well. Like my uncle coaches for the Raptors. I
Oh,
got
wow.
good coaches. His friends for like the Miami Heat.
You coached
the
before
Warriors.
too,
Yeah, I
right?
coached
You-
with the
Brooklyn-
Nets, so I
yeah.
had a lot of connections. And
Yeah.
you know, any industry it's pretty tight knit. And
Mhm.
then the agents are involved. Agents
Mhm.
obviously want the best for their players because they want the best for their bottom dollar coming out there. But
Yeah.
and then just through relationships and like the biggest thing for me is when I work with players, it's not about me. It's about how I can serve and give to them. It's like I get more joy out of seeing somebody make an all-star team, or someone may have their best career or best season of their career or getting a big contract. Like I love being able to be behind the scenes and do that for them. So I think it builds trust with them. So that's the biggest way that it continues to get more clients.
Right.
I've worked with probably over 100 NBA players on court, being able to work with them on court, probably 25 to 30 as life coach and being able to mentor them and seeing them grow over the years. But at the end of the day, like to me, the most important thing is not about the money that comes of it for any fame or any fingers pointed at me. But I want to be 85-year-old hanging on the front porch, drinking lemonade. I just got married, and 5 of them were in my wedding on my side, standing up there with me. Like that's
amazing.
That's the relationships of it is the most important thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And how does that? You're this coach at the highest caliber. You just got married. How does that translate at home? Are you still, the coach running the show, or does the role switch?
In the home
life?
Yeah, that definitely switches in the home life. She's the coach, but she's super supportive. She's an actress, so she understands the craziness of the schedule and the travel, and we both support each other like crazy. So it works out. But yeah. I mean, if her final call goes, I've learned that early.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And you've had an incredible career. You look pretty young. How old are you?
32.
32.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thanks, man.
For doing what you've done already at this stage. I mean, the caliber of people that you're coaching is, again, at the highest level. How do you feel you've got to this point? Has a lot of this been natural within you? Do you feel you've been a natural coach your whole life? Or where did it come from?
Man, that's a great setup question. I could have set one up even better. So I guess I realized at a younger age that I wasn't tall enough, athletic enough to continue to play at a high level. I got to play overseas for 3 years, and I was playing in the middle of nowhere, Spain, in the second division. Or guys would rather drink beers at halftime than actually train. And I'm here putting everything that I have into playing in the NBA because that's my only thing I ever thought I would do. That was my goal. So I'm here training like a maniac, and I realized at 23 that I can't even play in the second division of a league that doesn't even care about basketball. So I made that. I mean, that was the pivot I had to make in my life to realize that I'm a much better coach. Like I started training some of my friends, some players that are actually playing in the NBA, and they started telling their friends, and so it's just been naturally innate in me, and I have a bug in me that I just like to do. Like it's tough for me to say no. I'll go do it. Let's do it. And I think it's just grown from there, and just being able to be. I mean, I try to be obviously as genuine as I can in the care and the give, and just fully pouring every ounce of me into my guys. So I think it's grown from there. And I do a good job of recovery and optimizing myself too. So I haven't been sick in 8 years, knock on wood, I think I'm doing a good job myself.
Yeah.
Very good. So back to the book, Pivot and Go.
Yeah.
How does the book set up? What are some, can you give us like some hints or some tips that you have in the book that maybe the general public can use or our listeners can use?
Absolutely. So the book is being able to make mindset pivots, looking at things from a slightly different perspective that can change your whole perspective. Like redefining, like I was talking about, redefining what failure is, redefining what actually success is, redefining what confidence, joy, and passion are, told through stories of myself and my own experiences and through the experiences of the NBA players that I've trained, what they've had to go through. and just being able to give people the hope that you're not stuck in your situation, because we all are going to go through a time in our life where it's tough. We feel like we're stuck, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your job. It can be anything in your life. To know that, hey, if I just look at something from a different perspective, like I'll have my players, like I give them all, I'm big on writing things on note cards and placing them specifically throughout your house. Like you should see my place. It's covered with all, like, I'll wake up, there'll be something here on the fridge or just even on the ceiling.
Cool.
So I'll do that for players. And all the ones that I've done are in this book. So you're able to take them out, put them, I tell you where to put them. But things like it's puzzles over problems is one. So they're like little cool ways to remember. It's not a problem. We have a problem. We don't look at it as a problem. We look at it as a challenge, a puzzle. Every kid loved doing puzzles, right? Just look at this problem like a puzzle. And then once you figure out, you solve it. I mean, that's a good feeling. Looking at things from the younger you perspective. Like sometimes, like we all are blessed to be able to do what we do, obviously, and love what we do. Like there was a time for me, it was actually last summer, where I had 28 NBA players on the court throughout the same day. Like I was going 9 hours a day, and I was just physically and mentally just done. Like I pulled my car over on the way back home at night. I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. I got 3 months of this left. Like I can't do this anymore. And then I saw a little 8-year-old or 9-year-old kid dribbling a basketball walking by. I was like, wow. If that was me when I was 8 years old and I could do this right now, I'd give anything to do this. Yeah. So just looking at things from a different perspective. Right. And it's based on 28 of them, 28 to build a habit. Right. There's been studies. I know there's different studies that 66 days or whatever it might be. 28 days is what I've come up with to build a habit. And then the 29th day is the day that you make the choice whether you want it to be a lifestyle. So you get to, so that's the relentless consistency. And that's my favorite term in the book. If someone can give me a compliment of anything, it'd be you're relentlessly consistent. Every day you're showing up the same way with a smile on your face, with energy. So that's basically what the book is about.
Wow, those are great. Yeah. Can't wait to see. How many of these do you have in the book?
28. 29 is, gave it away, relentless consistency.
Got it. Awesome. Wow. Yep. Can't wait to see what the rest are.
Awesome. So incredible. I mean, that everything you said there just sounds so amazing, and so many things. I mean, consistency for me, I mean, I'd love relentless consistency. That takes it to a whole nother level. But I know that's something I've talked about with my team a lot. And I think it's one of the most important attributes we can have, because
absolutely,
people so often are fluctuating. I mean, human nature is emotional. It's up, it's down. But that person that's just consistently trending upwards is going to outpace everyone else. Just give it time. Just, let that person be high, and, eventually they're going to come back down. But if you just keep going, before you know it, you're at their high and you're still going.
Right. That's exactly right. Consistency is the best term that you can have. And it's like the stock market. Like it's consistently going. You're going to have down times, but you're going to come back up.
Right.
It's like, I also tell people that in the preparing for opportunity and relentless consistency, like sometimes we'll get things, like if it comes too fast, we're probably not prepared for it. We're probably not as ready as we should be. Like when people want something to happen now and now and now, it's not going to happen on your time. It's going to happen on a time much better than you can even expect. Like I got to be an assistant coach with the Nets when I was 27. Like that's unheard of. Right. That was way too young for me to do it. Like if I could do it again now, it'd be much better. I thought I was really good then, but I'm 5-6 years more experience now. So it's being able to be consistent in what you do, those 1% steps, and knowing that the opportunity is going to come for you at some point.
Yeah. And I really love the mindset shifts. I mean, I think that's so powerful. And it's so true. Everything, it's your choice. Is this positive or is it negative?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've shared it on the podcast before, but I had kind of a revelation, about a year ago or so, where building Next Health is stressful, right? I found myself stressed out constantly. That was my default response as to how I'm doing. Oh, I'm stressed out. I'm doing this, and this. Of course I'm stressed out. It's all I say I am is I'm stressed out. So I made the conscious choice to take stress out of my vocabulary and replace it with challenge.
Love it, man.
I'm challenged.
Awesome.
And I love challenges and I
Awesome.
thrive on challenges.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, by just saying I'm challenged right now, I'm facing this challenge, I love it. Now I want to conquer that challenge.
Yeah.
So it's no longer holding me back, but it's fueling me.
Yep.
And just a simple shift like that is incredible what it could do to change your life.
But think about that. Like even like 3 years ago when you guys started Next Health, you probably thought there's so much to go in this, so much to have to get done, and how is this ever going to happen? Look where you are now.
Yeah.
I know.
Like we were talking about how you're scaling it, and just it's amazing. But it's all people. Like people don't understand the power of perspective.
Right.
I know it sounds easy to say and you're like, oh, okay. But if you can really live it, if you can really wake up every single day and tell yourself that this very well could be the best day you've ever had. Like it absolutely could be. It might not be, but if you don't live it that way, you don't even give it the chance to have it that way.
Right. Exactly.
Man, you guys are 1%ers for sure. You guys juice me up. I'm ready to go on stage and start speaking right now.
Love it.
I love it. So I want to ask you, what are some of your routines? Do you have a morning routine?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me.
Morning routine. So I'll get up, I'll make coffee, have my coffee, and during that time, I'll sit with. I'm able to go outside up top and be able to watch the sunrise.
Nice.
So I really like watching the sunrise, and I'll have my prayer time, gratitude time. Christ is a big important part of my life, so I'll have my prayer time. I'll do a lot of mobility work, about 15 minutes of mobility work in the morning. Then I get my workout in the morning, so I want to get I enjoy working out, but I also want to, a mindset of mine is getting the hardest thing done too. So I want to not that I want to get it out of the way, but I want to get it out of the way. Also I had to take a 3-minute ice cold shower there right when I wake up. Sorry, that's right when I wake up. That's my game changer. I think that's one of my things that I think, you put in your pocket. Like, this is my little secret. This is my little trick, my little hack. Like, it wakes me up, gets me going. That's pretty much, that's the basics. And
that's really similar to mine.
Is it really?
Yeah, I kind of do almost the same exact thing every morning.
That's awesome. And
so what time so you're up at 5?
Probably about 6. It used to be 5.
Okay.
My wife's a night person. So I've given her she's given me about 2 hours. I've given her about an hour.
Got it.
So I get up a little bit later.
Okay.
But usually about 6.
Okay.
And then it's about an hour and 15 morning routine. But man, it's just the difference of when you have those and when you don't have them, how different you feel.
Yes.
It's crazy, right?
Completely different. Yeah. There's one day a week I operate and I can't do my morning routine.
Yeah.
Like, it literally takes me 24 hours to recover.
Probably the worst day to not do it.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
So
you got to do it.
It's 5:30 in the morning. We start surgery so early. So I have to go straight to the operating room. And I'm just like after the day is done, I'm ready to pass out. But it's only because I didn't do my morning routine. It's makes such a huge difference,
It absolutely does.
It absolutely does. And it's especially once your body gets used to that consistency. And you don't get it one day, it's obvious.
How about nightly routine? You got a nightly routine?
Oh, I wrote a book about my nightly routine.
Oh, you did? I'm over here saying nobody's talking about the nightly routine and you got a book about it. Man, I got to check that out for sure.
Like you said it. It is so powerful to have a night routine. I mean, it makes such a giant difference versus even a morning routine, I think. Because like you said, you're preparing yourself for the next day. It starts the night before, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
You look at everything from a slightly different perspective than everybody else. I love to do that too.
Yeah.
One of my big rules is if everybody's going one way, you should run the other way as fast as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So true. And so, I always talk about your night routine, just like you said, you got to look at everything in your sleep environment and you have to look at your sleep routine. There's two things.
Yes.
Environment, cold, dark cave, right?
Cold, dark cave.
Exactly. And routine, just like you said, no electronics. You want to have a very specific routine where you're winding down for the night versus, a lot of people, like you said, just watch TV and their mind gets running and they go to sleep. So they feel like, oh, I went to sleep. So what's the big deal? Well, your sleep is terrible. If you measured your HRV or, I track my sleep every night with a sleep tracker. I look at my sleep score too. Like it definitely shows. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Once people see the numbers, you can't change what you don't measure, right? So once people see the numbers of what's happening when they watch TV at night versus not watching TV at night and how much it affects their scores, it's so powerful.
Yeah. It's being able to see the difference when you do something, when you switch something up.
Right.
So switching that one thing up to see the difference.
Right.
What's your HRV scores? You get over 200?
Yeah, a lot of times I do.
Nice.
Yeah,
You're
a lot
good.
of times I do.
Yeah,
right,
really
exactly.
Good.
So when I miss my morning routine, I don't.
Yeah.
But
all your patients are still alive that you get surgery
they're
on?
doing good.
Okay,
they're doing good. Everyone wants surgery early in the morning, so it's like
yeah, so they don't have to fast the whole day, probably.
Exactly.
Man. Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Next is the book. I mean, the book's coming out. It'll be pre-released in November, fully out in March.
Great.
And then doing a lot more speaking. As much as I love the tactical aspect of basketball and optimization, I absolutely love encouraging people. I love motivating people. I love seeing people just get like super excited about what they have going.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have our passions. I feel like we're all blessed with some type of gift. We all have it. It's just, do we want to show it? Do we allow the world and other people to tell us that it's not good enough, or say we look at other people and think theirs is better, so I can't do it? Like, I want to have people. How great a world would it be if everybody was just trying to live out what they were made to do?
Right.
And that's what I want to do. I mean, I want to be like the Tony Robbins, John Maxwell of sports, and just be speaking everywhere, encouraging, juicing people up.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love your mindset about that too, because you're obviously very, very much into seeing other people thrive and teaching other people how to do that. And I think that's a gift when you're able to have something to teach other people. And so glad that you decided to write a book, that you go out there and you speak about this stuff. I mean, you have so much great knowledge in your mind that obviously people pay a lot of money for you to teach them, right?
Yeah.
NBA players. And here you are giving it to people in a book that you've written and going out there speaking about. I think is great. I hope you can come and speak at Next Health.
Yep, line it up. I'm there.
All right.
For sure. We'll get some IVs and some good food, and we'll rock it.
That would be awesome. Great. Well, it was great to have you on our
Thank you very
podcast. I
much.
think we're running out of time. I'm looking forward to a lot more conversations with you. And we'll see you at Next Health.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.